Good morning. Today, the practice I had intended was kind of intense, so we'll see how it goes. I'd taken a few classes this week by Noah Maze, and if you know him, he's kind of intense, but in a very methodical type of way. So paying homage to some of the things I learned from him, I thought we would do a similar type of thing. So to make sure that we're set up, I'd like you to make sure that you've got at least a blanket, a block. You might want a strap. It might not be necessary. It depends upon how your body is feeling today. And it seems like we would probably like to add in that chest open pec stretch thing with the blanket and the block, because it seems like a lot of us have expressed interest in that. So we'll go ahead and add that in. But to start, let's go ahead and start on your back. So lay down as flat as you can with your legs long, your arms long, and you'll just take a moment in this shape to allow the palms to face up and come into Shavasana, or corpse pose. And in this shape, just notice what comes to mind immediately in this moment, how the body is connecting with the floor, maybe where there's any tension, or you might want to wiggle a little bit, or even just how the mind is, the breath is. And then we'll start with something that's called Tadaka Mudra. So draw your legs together so the inner inseams touch. Go ahead and flex through your feet a lot so the toes pull back towards your face. And you'll keep rooting down through your heels as you slide your tailbone isometrically towards your heels. From here, reach your arms up and over your head. And then you can go ahead and interlace your hands and turn the palms of your hands away from you. And now once you're here in this shape, I'd like you to bring your awareness to your abdomen. And when you breathe in, the abdomen will naturally start to rise. And as you breathe out, allow the belly to draw in towards the floor and then up towards your face. And we'll just take 3 to 5 breaths like that. So Tadaka Mudra is literally referring to this idea of a lake. And you're imagining that your belly is that lake, and you're hollowing out the space as you gently draw in and up, and as you allow the belly to distend. Now, as you're here for a few more breath cycles, I'd like you to notice that you can start the inhalation at the top of your spine, meaning you can inhale into the upper ribs, the armpits, the middle ribs. And then you can start to still exit through the belly, but start to pull the pelvic floor up just a little bit to create stability in the low back and the spine. And so you'll just take 3 to 5 more breaths like that, inhaling into the upper parts of the torso, and then exhaling, hugging the belly into the spine and drawing it up, drawing the pelvic floor with you. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently release your hands and draw them back alongside your hips and release the legs, coming back to Shavasana, and just notice what you notice now. Tadaka Mudra is very subtle, but it has the potential to start to shift the energetic state of our being. And it seems like it's a very cool thing to come into, considering just all the stuff that's about to happen, both in our lives as well as in this practice. Okay, open your arms out to the right and to the left. Gently bend your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. Now from here, go ahead and press through your feet, lift your pelvis up and slide it a little bit to the left and put your bum back down. Reach your right leg up and cross your right thigh completely over your left, like you're sitting in a cute dress and you don't want to flash anybody. Now take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, draw both legs over to the right. And then inhale, press both legs back up to center. And you'll just do 4 of these. And you're working to just pull with that right leg, resist with the left. And then when you come up, you push with the left leg and resist with the right. And you'll find that this creates just a little bit of twist in the low back. It also, you might feel some stuff rolling on the outside edge of that right hip, depending upon how sore your hips are from whatever you've been doing. That might feel good or it might not feel so great. So you're just going for you. And then the next time the legs fall over to the right, just stay there. You might choose to reach your left arm up on a diagonal and take a big stretch there. You might pull down more with that right shin and push up more with that left thigh. So you're finding a space where you can deepen the breath, where you can find a bit of softness behind the backs of the heart, backs of the shoulder blades. And then on your next in breath, gently open that left arm back and draw the legs back to center. Pause here. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh so the right knee reaches out to the right. From here, flex through your right foot a lot, and then draw your knees towards your chest. So external rotation of that leg coming into Suphi Randrasana. From here, you can thread your hand through the holes of your legs and grab the back of your left thigh or front of your left shin, whatever feels best to you. And you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here, seeing if you can keep the heart space open. Lightly press that right ankle against the top of your left thigh as you open the left knee just a bit to the left. On your next exhalation, gently release the hands, draw the left foot to the floor, and then plant the right foot next to it. Great. And then we'll go ahead and pause. Push down through your feet, lift your hips up and slide your pelvis over towards the right. Make sure your arms are out at a right angle from your shoulders, and then lift your left leg up, cross the left thigh over, take a big breath in, and exhale, draw both legs over towards the left. And then inhale and come back up. And you'll just take this about 4 times. So we're exhaling to the left, and then inhaling, coming back to center, and just noticing what feels different on this side or what feels unique, what's present on this side. And you're just allowing yourself to be with that experience. The next time the legs fall towards the left, you'll pause. You might pull down with that left shin, press up with that right, and then maybe reach the right arm on a diagonal until you find a nice spot for you. And then you'll just breathe, noticing what you notice on this side, noticing where you can soften. On your next inhalation, you'll gently open that arm back out to the right and draw the legs back through center. Cross that left ankle over the top of your right thigh and then thread your hands through the whole of your legs. Draw the knees closer towards you. Make sure you flex through that left foot a lot. And again, you can choose where you hold. Those of you that are holding on to the back of the left thigh, maybe open the right knee, open the right knee a little bit to the right. If you have your hands on the front of your right shin, notice what happens if you drag the shin up towards the knee or just pull it straight down towards the floor. It'll impact the sensation on that outer left hip. And then when you're ready, you'll gently release your hands, plant the right foot on the floor, plant the left foot on the floor next to it. Take a moment to pause and breathe. And then let's take our hands, so they're still alongside our hips, but face them up towards the sky. Great. Now we're just going to do 4 of these. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart, hands alongside your hips. Inhale, push through your feet, lift your hips up. And then exhale, slowly roll the spine back down. And you've got 4 sets of these. And you're just noticing what you notice here. Can you lift evenly through the right and the left leg as you come up, or does one leg charge ahead? Do you notice if the descent is equal between the right and left leg, or does one charge ahead? And we're allowing ourselves to just take a moment to pause as we come in and out of the shape to notice what we notice. And then the next time you press up, you'll take a moment to pause in that elevated position. With your hips high, press down into your feet. Walk your shoulders up towards your ears a little bit, and then walk your shoulder blades underneath you. From here, you might walk your hands closer towards each other. You might interlace the hands, or you might hold on to the outer edges of your ankles. But wherever you are, I'd like you to press into your pinky toes to lift your outer hips up a little more. Yep. And then press into your big toes to roll your inner thighs down. Yep. Now, keeping that, lengthen your tailbone, your buttocks flesh towards your knees, and then see if you can wrap the shoulder blades a little bit more. Yeah, so then your sternum comes towards your chin and your chin pulls away from your sternum. Yep, so that the back of your head rests just in the back of the floor. And you've got 3 more breath cycles here. And as you're in this shape, can you start to deepen the breath as well as even it out so it feels steady, so it feels consistent, so it feels even. At the end of your next exhalation, mindfully release your hands, untuck your shoulders, and bring your pelvis back to the floor, bone by bone. Great. When your pelvis touches the floor, gently extend your right leg long and then your left leg long. From here, reach your arms alongside your ears. Go ahead and interlace opposite awkward interlace. Hug your legs together. Flex through your feet. And we'll take Tadaka Mudra 3 more times here. So you'll inhale into the upper chest, into the upper ribs, into the back body. And then you'll exhale, drawing that low belly in, drawing the pelvic floor with it, and emptying out the abdomen. And as you continue to hug those legs in towards each other, we're just finding a sense of stability in our midline. So we're working really closely on this idea of coming home to ourselves. I've been reading the Bodhisattva as told by Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's a very beautiful story that I encourage you to read because it's only 120 pages and he's a great storyteller. But the main point is he talks a lot about this notion of coming back home. In order for us to be loving and kind and generous and compassionate with others, we have to come back home to ourselves and find that within ourselves so that we can find it within another. So let's just take one more breath for good measure here. And at the end of your exhalation, you'll gently release the legs, gently release the arms, and return back to little corpse pose Shavasana and hold for a moment. And just notice what you notice here. How is the breath now? How is the body now? Awesome. Okay. Gently make your way over to one of your sides. And then from here, draw yourself up to hands and knees. Okay. So let's take a momentary pause with hands and knees. Walk your knees, ankles, and shins together. Walk your toes underneath, so tuck the toes under. And then press your pelvis back towards your heels. And you might just stay here for a moment with happy toe squat. We would encourage you to take one of 2 options. You can either interlace your hands and take a few little wrist circles if this feels like this might be really good for you. The second option, if that feels like you've done that and you're ready to move on, is to take half Gomukhasana. So you've got about 5 to 10 breaths here, and I'll let you self-select. You're coming home to yourself and noticing what feels best to you, what enables you to experience a sense of compassion. If you've done Ardha Gomukhasana, please switch to the other side. And what enables you to find that sense of truth, of honesty, of connection to self first, so that you can genuinely be with another as they're going through whatever they're going through. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. So you've got last few breath cycles to do anything else that might feel good to your body. And then when you're ready, you'll come forward onto hands and knees. Extend the tops of your feet to the floor, pitter patter your toes, having a happy little temper tantrum if you'd like. And then from there, counter stretch if you'd like, shifting the tops of the feet to the floor, shifting your weight back, lifting one or both knees up if that feels appropriate and good to your body. Great. Okay. Let's go ahead and come forward onto our hands and knees. Pad your knees if your knees happen to get sensitive, and you'll just put a blanket underneath. And then separate your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders. Tuck both sets of toes under and take your toes towards the right. Step your right hand forward and to the right a little bit, and then roll to your right to grab the outside edge of your left ankle. Draw the left heel as close to your pelvis as possible. Push down into your right hand and lengthen your tailbone down towards your left knee. Now stay there if you're happy as a clam. Otherwise, you might just start to kick your left foot back. And then for those of us who wanted a neck stretch, notice what happens if you take your gaze down towards your right hand and then drawing it back to center. And then notice what happens if you just drop your right ear towards your right hand and then coming back to center. And you can choose whichever those options feel best to you to release your neck. But again, continue to breathe. Continue to press down into the bottom hand and bottom leg. Awesome stuff. If you're moving your head around, please come back to stillness. Gently release your left leg back behind you so it's parallel to the floor. Lower your left foot to the floor. Spin your right foot back behind you a little bit, and then reach your left arm over your head. Now, once you're here, feel free to do what feels good to you. So you might roll your chest towards the floor. You might roll it up. You might swing your pelvis forward a little bit. You might swing it back, but you're taking a moment to just notice what feels best to you, breathing the whole time. As you're ready, you'll lower the left hand to the floor and come back to hands and knees. Great. Go ahead and tuck both sets of toes under. Walk your hands slightly wider than your shoulders. Left hand slightly forward a bit. Tuck both sets of toes over to the left and then roll to the left. Once you're over to the left, grab your right ankle with your right hand. And then draw your heel as close to your pelvis as possible. And this side, I should have said this on the other side, but see if you can curl your toes around your right hand. Push down into your left hand, lengthen tailbone, buttocks flush back, and maybe you stay there happy as a clam. Maybe you start to kick that right foot back. So find a nice chest stretch as well as a back bend and thigh stretch. And maybe you turn your gaze down towards your bottom hand. Maybe you draw it back to center. Maybe you drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. Maybe you draw it back to center. But you've got 2 more breath cycles here. So just notice what feels best to you and see if you can breathe. And once you feel complete with the head fluctuations, just bring your head to center. Gently release your right leg long behind you, parallel to the floor. And then bring the right foot to the floor. Spin your left foot back behind you and swim your right arm alongside your ears. And you can take a little side bend towards the floor, bending your bottom elbow if that feels good. Rolling your chest more towards the floor, swinging your pelvis forward. You're just noticing what feels best to you. Great. And then when you're ready, lower that right hand to the floor and come back to hands and knees. Cool. Awesome sauce. From here, make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulders or a little wider is fine. Spread wide through all 10 of your fingers and then step your right foot back and step your left foot back. Plank pose. Now we'll be here for about 5 breath cycles. So I want you to see if you can push down through the floor so much that it feels like your shoulders puff up and then widen on your back. And then lift up through your inner thighs a bit and lengthen your tailbone, your buttocks flush back. And then just like we did with Tadaka Mudra, see if you can draw the belly in and up as you exhale. Aha, look at that. And you'll just see how this goes. So the inhale still breathing into the ribs, into the chest, and the exhale draws that slight belly in and up to create stability in the spine and the low back. Nice work. Gently bend your knees and then push your pelvis up and back, downward facing dog. Now, once you go back to that downward facing dog shape, your knees might stay bent or they might straighten. You might pedal a little bit through the right foot or the left foot. It's totally up to you. But again, you're just checking in and noticing how the body is doing, noticing how the breath is doing, and noticing how you're doing with all of that. Awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. If you're not, press down and forward through the fingertips, lift up through your inner armpits and wrap your triceps towards the floor. From here, lift your outer hips up a little bit and your inner thighs back a little bit. Yep. And then see if here you can find that Tadaka Mudra. So you're inhaling into the ribs, into the chest, and then the exhale comes from the belly and pulls the pelvic floor up. And you've just got two more like that. So inhaling into the upper torso, down towards the belly, and then exhaling from the belly up towards the heart. This is also a prep in this orientation for your bandha work, and it's also a prep for Agnisara. Agnisara is said to be the one that fights all illnesses. So we're doing a little bit of prep for that. Okay. Gently inhale, gaze towards your hands. As you exhale, bend the knees and travel towards the top of your space. Nice work. When you get to the top of your space, find your feet hip distance apart. This is totally up to you. You can plant a block between your shin bones if you'd like. You also don't have to. It's totally up to you. But we're going to do 3 sets of these. So bring your hands to the fronts of your shins. This is variation 1. Press your shins forward into your hands and push your hands back into your shins. See if you can bring your spine as parallel to the floor as possible. And then slide your shoulders away from your ears and towards each other on your back body. Yep, lift your head a little bit more. Nice job. Next exhale, go ahead and fold all the way in. So that's variation 1. Variation number 2, bring your hands to the outside edges of your shin bones. Push your palms into your shins out into your hands, lift your spine halfway. Soften the shoulders away from your ears, and then draw the low belly in. Awesome sauce. Exhale, fold all the way in. And then variation 3. Bring your hands to your hips. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back and inhale, lift your spine halfway. Keep pulling the belly in as you exhale, drawing the pelvic floor in and up. And inhale, breathing into the upper chest. Nice job. And exhale, fold all the way in. Okay. Bring your hands back to variation 2 position. So hands on the outer edges of your shins. Push your hands in more than you think you need to. Push your shins out more than you think you need to. Inhale, bend your knees. Reach your spine forward so it's parallel to the floor. So you're still pushing into your outer shin bones and you're still pushing your outer shin bones in. Now bend your knees even more. Keep pushing your hands into your knees into your hands. Draw your hands to heart center. Slide your knees forward, slide your hips back, and bring your spine to vertical for chair pose. Keep pushing out into your outer shin bones like you've got your hands there, hugging in like you have your hands there, and then sitting your pelvis low. Lift your ribs up and away from your hips. There we go. And take one more breath in here. Option to keep your hands right here if this is working for you. Otherwise, bring your hands alongside your hips, turn your palms to face forward. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back and see if you can pull those front ribs in. Next in breath, you can just stay here and sit a little lower or reach your arms forward to come up for Utkatasana, chair pose. Take a big breath in here and take a big breath out. Next in breath, push through the feet, stand up, reach up, look up through the arms and stay here. Draw your tailbone down, reach the hands up. And on your next exhalation, open the arms out to the right and to the left. Now take a moment to pause here. Palms still radiate forward. You're inhaling into the upper chest, into the upper ribs, and then into the abdomen. And then exhaling from the abdomen, pulling the pelvic floor up and feeling that sense of tone that comes here and the stability that provides to the legs. All right, let's add on. Inhale, circle sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips. Uttanasana, forward fold. If you have that block, please discard it. Yep. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, variation of your choice. And exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, and step back, plank pose. Pause. Now, once you're in plank pose, for this one, we've got 3 variations. Well, We'll get to them. But you're going to take a moment to pause here. Variation 1 is to just lower your knees to the mat. Variation 2 is to stay in plank. And variation 3 is to shift your weight forward and come into chaturanga and hold for 1 complete breath cycle. So you'll take a big breath in, you'll take a big breath out, and next exhalation, lower all the way to your belly. Nice job. Once you find yourself onto your abdomen, bring your hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Now, just as we did before, let's see if we can draw the shoulders onto the back body, lengthen your tailbone back, reach your legs back, reach your toes back. Great. Breathe in here. As you exhale, lift just your head and chest up and away from the floor. Inhale, lengthen your tailbone back, your inner thighs back, and as you exhale, you'll lift your thighs up and away from the floor. Inhale here, hugging the shoulder blades onto the back even more, and as you exhale, you'll float your arms up and away from the floor. Inhale here, lengthening your tail and your sternum away from each other. As you exhale, you'll flex your feet. Inhale here, and as you exhale, you'll bend your knees, drawing your heels towards your tuchus. Great. Take a big breath in here, lift a little higher through the chest, and exhale, extend your legs long back behind you, coming back to that Shalabhasana shape. Inhale here. On your next exhalation, plant your hands alongside your ribs. Inhale here. Next exhale, pull yourself forward through Cobra or Up Dog, your choice. And you'll take a breath to pause. On your next exhalation, make your way back to plank pose. So tuck the toes under, lift the belly up, straighten both of your legs. Pause here. Everyone draw your front ribs in and up just a bit, like you're trying to puff your upper low back towards the ceiling. And then take that Tadaka Mudra one more time. So inhaling into upper chest and exhale, low belly draws in, pelvic floor pulls up. Ah, yay! Okay, next exhalation, bend your knees, lift your hips, downward facing dog. 2 to 3 breath cycles, and you're just noticing what you notice here. A lot of these slower things have to do with priming our pump, which is said to exist in our abdomen, our Manipura chakra. It's our seat where we can create transformation, where we can know how to come home to self. All right, inhale, gaze to the top of your space. Exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, travel to the top of your space. Nice work. Once you get there, inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold in. Slide your hands to the outside edges of your shin bones. Push the shins into the hands into the shin. Inhale, bend your knees, slide your knees forward, your spine about parallel to the floor. Now from here, keep pushing your knees out into your hands into your knees, and then draw your hands to heart center. Inhale, bend your knees, slide your knees forward, lift your head up, chair pose, Utkatasana. And as you exhale, release the hands alongside your hips. Palms face forward, shoulder blades hug onto back. Now, if you'd like, you can interlace your hands behind you here, lifting the sternum up, or just keep the palms as they are. But see if you can bend your knees a little bit more, lift those ribs up and away from your hips, and sit your tuchus a little lower. Nice job. If you have the hands, release them, and then inhale, sweep your arms forward and up, stand up, reach up, look up, Urdhva Hastasana. Lengthen your tail down, your crown up, draw those front ribs in. And exhale, open the arms out to the side, return to mountain pose. Nice job. Adding on. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step or float back, plank pose. Pause. So you've got the same variations that we had before. You can lower the knees to the mat, you can lift or stay in Phalangkasana, plank pose, or you can hover in Chaturanga for 1 complete breath cycle. But if you're hovering in Chaturanga, pull those front ribs in and back, and then on your next exhalation, lower all the way down. Nice job, guys. Great. Adding on. Hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Take a moment to straighten your legs, keeping them engaged on the fronts and the backs of the body, tops of the feet pressed down. Then draw your shoulders up to your ears and draw your shoulder blades onto your back body. Now inhale, slide your tailbone back just a bit more. As you exhale, lift just your chest and your head up and away from the floor. Inhale, slide your tail back, your toes back. Exhale, lift the inner legs and thighs and feet away from the floor. Inhale, lengthen tailbone and sternum away from each other. And exhale, lift the arms up and away from the floor. Hug those shoulder blades onto your back body. And on your next exhale, you might interlace your hands at your low back. Inhale here. As you exhale, flex through your feet. Inhale here. Exhale, bend your knees. You might stay here, breathe in. You might grab your outer ankles, breathe out. If you've grabbed the outer ankles, breathe in. And exhale, kick back, lift up. Take a big breath in here. Next, exhale, release the feet back and long, so legs are long, straighten your knees. Inhale here. Exhale, hands alongside your ribs. Inhale, hug the shoulders back, reach the heart forward. And exhale, start to push through the arms, lift up, upward dog or cobra, your choice. Inner thighs lift, tops of the feet press down. Now, as you're ready, you'll make your transition back to plank. So tuck those toes under, draw your front ribs in and back, and push the floor away a lot with your hands. 3 breaths. Notice if you can still breathe into the upper chest and the ribs as you breathe in, and then exit from the abdomen. On your next exhalation, you'll gently bend your knees and lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. And then notice here, bringing your awareness back to the movement of breath in your abdomen. So the exhale draws the low belly in and up towards your heart. The inhale fills the collarbones, the ribs, then the belly. Awesome sauce. Inhale, gaze to the top of your space. And exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, travel to the top of your space. Nice. From here, inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold in. Hands to the outer edges of your shin. Inhale, bend your knees, push out into your hands, push in with your hands. Exhale, your hands come to heart center. Now from here, lift the spine, sit the pelvis low. Awesome sauce. Release your hands alongside your hips, palms face forward. Hug those shoulder blades back, reach your heart forward. Next inhalation, sweep your arms forward to come up, Urdhva Hastasana. And then straighten those legs, lengthen down through the tail, reach up through the fingers, look up, reach up. And then exhale, arms open out to the right and to the left. Great, okay, so we're gonna try 2 things here. The first one is to go ahead and shift all of your weight onto your right leg, and you're gonna bend your left knee behind you. And if you can, you might be able to touch your left leg. You might need a block, and the block will just go to your heel. You're gonna kick your heel in towards your butt as you push it away until we can find a crazy thing that's happening on the back of your left butt, but also make sure that your right butt isn't going out to the right, but it's straight back behind you. So you're pushing and kicking and kicking and pushing, and hello, happy hamstring. And then gently release that. So our sitting makes this muscle kind of weak. So shift the weight to your left leg, bend your right knee, bring the block to your heel if you're using it. If you don't have that, you can even just touch your fingers. It just depends upon how long your torso is in relationship to your arms. Like I have really long arms, so I can easily touch my foot, but not everybody can do that. So you're squeezing your heel in, kicking your foot or pressing your foot away. Awesome. And then we'll gently release that. Okay, and then adding on to that. So shift all of the weight over to your left leg. Draw your right leg in front of you, hands to heart center. Now flex through that right foot a lot. And then on your next exhalation, you'll start to kick your right foot back, offer your heart and sternum forward, and hello, glutes. That left glute is probably talking to you quite a bit. Square your hips as best as you can to the floor. Gently bend your left knee, step your right foot long and back, and you'll find yourself able to come to a crescent lunge position. Now draw that outer left hip back, keep lifting through the inner right thigh, and hands might stay at heart center. Hands might release alongside hips, or arms might reach alongside your ears. But you've got 3 breath cycles here. And you're noticing what the weight is doing on your foot. So let's push into our big toe mound of our front foot. Then draw your outer left hip back. Yep. And lift through the inner right thigh. On your next exhalation, gently spin that right foot to the floor and open to Virabhadrasana 2. Now, once you find yourself here, take the opportunity to adjust. So you might need to move your feet so they're wider or more narrow. It depends upon you, but make sure that your left knee is tracking over the center of your left foot. Yep. Hug that outer left hip back. Press onto the knife edge of that front foot. Great. From here, turn both palms to face the sky. And then inhale, reverse your warrior. Reach your left arm forward to come up, and you only side bend as much as feels good in your low back, especially on the right side. Great. Next in-breath, come back up to Virabha 2. And then let's pause. Straighten your front leg long. Great. Okay, and then from here, reach forward and out through your left arm. Draw that left hand to the inside edge of your left shin, to the left foot, or maybe it touches a block. Now from here, see if you can push the left hand into the left inner shin into the right. Draw your left ribs forward and under, your right ribs up, yep, and then maybe gaze up towards that top hand. Take a big breath in here, and take a big breath out. Next in-breath, return to warrior 2. Awesome. And then we'll take extended side angle. So reach forward through that left hand once again. Left knee stays bent this time. Maybe left fingertips come to the floor. Maybe the left forearm touches the left thigh. Right arm reaches alongside your ears. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe. Very gently inhale, return to warrior 2. Yep. And then exhale, cartwheel your hands all the way down to the floor and pause. Pause here in your low lunge. Lift your hips enough to slide your left foot back and hang out for a moment in plank. You've got 3 steady breath cycles here. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale and shift your weight forward and either hover for a moment in chaturanga or not, and then lower all the way down. Great. Once you're on your belly, bring your hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Energize your legs, keeping them active and reaching them back. And then you'll inhale, find length in the tailbone, lengthening back, and exhale, lift the chest up and away from the floor. Inhale, reach your sternum forward and the toes back, and exhale, lift the legs up and away from the floor. Inhale, see if you can hug the shoulder blades onto the back as you reach the heart forward, and then exhale, lift the arms up and away from the floor. Now, option to interlace hands or not, but you'll take a big breath in here, and then exhale, flex your feet. Inhale here, exhale, bend your knees. Inhale here, exhale, maybe grab your outer ankles. Inhale here, exhale, kick your thighs back. Inhale here, exhale, release your legs long back to that Shalabhasana position. Inhale here, exhale, hands alongside your lowest ribs. Inhale here, hug elbows back. And exhale, pull forward and through cobra or up dog. Nice. Hug the shoulder blades onto your back body and heart and sternum reach forward. Nice job. When you're ready, tuck your toes under. You can either come through chaturanga this time or plank, your choice. And then you'll make your way back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. And then you just notice, what do you notice here? Can you return your awareness to the breath moving in and out of your abdomen? Great. Next in-breath, gaze to the top of your space. Exhale the belly completely and step or float top of space. Nice job, guys. From there, inhale halfway lift and exhale fold all the way in. Okay, last time, inhale sit, Utkatasana. So just come straight up and in. Nice job. Take a moment to pause. Find yourself at home in this shape. So even as we go through things, how can you readjust as things happen perhaps a little bit differently than they did before? Next in-breath, stand up, reach up, look up. And exhale, tailbone lengthens down, fingers reach up. Find that length through your spine. On your next exhalation, open the arms out and to your side. Okay, we'll try all that on the other side. So shift your weight over to your right leg, float your left leg up, hands come to heart center. And then you really flex through those left toes, pulling them up, lifting up through the heart space. On your next exhale, start to kick your left leg back, offer your heart and sternum forward, and tip your heart towards Virba 3. Keep squaring that left hip to the floor as you lift up through your inner right thigh. Very mindfully, start to bend your right knee, lower your left toes to the floor, and take that slow transition to come to a vertical position with your spine. Now the hands might stay at heart center. They might release alongside your hips, or your arms might reach alongside your ears. But you've got about 3 to 5 breath cycles. And I know that after doing this for a couple of days, my outer left hip is like, oh, buddy, or outer right hip, like, oh, buddy. So push down into your right big toe, hug your outer right hip back, lengthen your tailbones down, and then Tadaka Mudra here, belly button draws in and up, lift the ribs up, reach the arms up, Next exhale, spin the left foot to the floor and open to Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. And you first take that first few moments in the shape to adjust for you so that the feet are as wide as they need to be for it to feel good to you. The toes are turned at whichever angle it needs to be so it feels good for you, so that you're at home in your own body instead of trying to force your body to meet some arbitrary shape. Great. On your next in-breath, see if you can turn your palms to the sky and take a reverse warrior, but finding length first before finding that depth and the side bend. And then just breathe. Great. Next inhalation, come back to Warrior 2. As you exhale, straighten that front leg long. Reach your right hand forward and bring the right hand to the inside edge of your right shin, onto a block or down to the floor. And then you just pause here. What engagement can you bring to your back left glute? How can you draw that outer right hip back and press down into your right big toe mound to find more of a stretch on the inside edge of that right hamstring? And then how can you lengthen the spine and then rotate the right ribs forward and under to stack the left ribs on top and maybe gaze up? Nice job. Next in-breath, return to Virba 2. Yep. And then as you exhale, reach forward through that right hand and come to extended side angle. Maybe forearm touches the top of the right thigh, maybe hand comes to the floor or a block, but you'll pause and you'll breathe. And you make the adjustments that you need to make here so that you can breathe deep into that left side body while still drawing your right ribs forward and under. Nice work. Next in-breath, come back to Warrior 2. And exhale, cartwheel your hands to the floor, come to a low lunge and pause. Mindfully step your right foot back, plank pose. Option to stay here, option to lower your knees down, or option to hover in chaturanga. On your next exhalation, you'll lower your spine all the way to the floor. Great. Once you're there, let's all take a little look to our right and to our left and push anything that's immediately to your right and to your left off so it's a little further away. I wanted us to try Parsvadanyarasana today, so we'll see how that goes. But if you've got something immediately to your right and to your left, you might not like that so much. Okay, so then bring your hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Okay, energize your legs, keeping them super active. Then as you inhale, you'll lengthen your tailbone back to your feet. As you exhale, lift your head and chest up and away from the floor. As you inhale, lengthen your sternum forward, your legs back, and exhale, float your legs up and away from the floor. Inhale, hug those shoulder blades onto the back by lifting your side body long. And exhale, float your arms up and away from the floor. Inhale here, see if you can lift a little higher through the legs and the chest. And as you exhale, flex the feet. Inhale here, and exhale, bend your knees. Inhale here, grab the outer ankles if you can, and exhale, kick back a little higher. Great. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, roll over to your left side. See if you can draw your left foot back behind you. Kick back through both feet and take in a little breath here in side bow. Yep. Inhale, come back to your belly. Nice modification, Roberta. And then exhale, go to the other side. So you don't have to actually touch your legs to do this. It just, as long as you got your legs active, the backs of the hamstrings active, you got that. And then inhale, come back through center. And exhale, kick back last time. Yay. Inhale here. Exhale, release your legs, kicking them back behind you. I know. Inhale here in that Shalabhasana without holding your legs. Exhale, release hands alongside your lowest ribs. Inhale here. As you exhale, push up to Cobra or Up Dog, your choice. Last little thing there. And then you're just noticing what you notice here. As you're ready, tuck your toes under, come back to Phalangasana, plank pose. 3 last breath cycles here. Again, letting the movement happen in the belly. And then when you're ready, you'll either make your way back to downward facing dog or child's pose and rest. Awesome sauce. Okay. Go ahead and make your way to hands and knees. Okay, so we will take Ardha Virasana and then see if we can add in the belly thing, the armpit stretch thing. I noticed that when I did it this morning, after having done all that, I was like, oh, wow, that hurts quite a bit. So we'll see how that goes. But first thing we'll do is you can have options. If you already know Ardha Virasana is not going to happen because of your knees, you do not need to do this. You can just set up your blocks and lie back with one block supporting your head and the other block supporting your rib cage. Otherwise, if you are going to do Ardha Virasana, you'll bring one block back behind you, setting it up and setting the other block up. So one is on its medium setting, the other one's on its highest setting. And the blanket is just here in case if your shins are sensitive. Sometimes it feels better to me to have my shins on the blanket and sometimes not so much. So we'll go ahead and start by just bringing your pelvis all the way to the floor and your legs in front of you for Dandasana. So those of you that are just going to lay back, you can go ahead and lay back from here. Otherwise, if you are going to try Ardha Virasana, you'll bend your right knee, you'll grab your right ankle and swim your right ankle back behind you. Now take your right thumb and move the flesh behind the right calf out to the right and back behind you. Now then notice if that's okay for you, and if that is, you'll just bring your hands back to the first block, lift your pelvis, slide your tailbone forward as you lower your shoulders onto the first block, and then lower your head perhaps onto the second block. And we're just finding a fun little stretch across the belly of our right thigh. And then from there, just allow the arms to open out to the right and to the left in whatever degree feels most appropriate to you. And again, you're just coming back to that idea of breathing into the upper chest and the ribs, and allowing the belly to slightly empty and then draw up. You've got 2 more steady breath cycles here, just noticing what you notice. Very mindfully, bring your hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Push down into your hands to press your spine up to vertical. Once you're vertical, shift your weight to your left hand, grab your right ankle and unwind this shape. You might take some ankle circles here, just noticing what feels good there or not. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So bend your left knee, grab your left ankle with your left hand, and draw the left foot back behind you. From there, notice if you can bring left hand, or rather left thumb, into the back of left calf and pull that extra flesh out and back. And then hands will come back to grab the block. Lift the pelvis, slide the tailbone forward and under as you lower your ribs to the first block and head to the second block. Arms can then open out to the right and to the left, wherever feels appropriate to you. And you're just taking a moment to pause and breathe here. When you are ready to come out of this shape, your hands will come alongside your hips. Turn your palms to face the floor. Push down into your hands to come up. Shift the weight to the right hand, grab the outer left ankle, and then unwind your legs. Cool. Awesome. All right. From here, we'll go straight into Ardha Matsyendrasana, actually. So let's bend both of our knees. Slide your left ankle underneath you towards your right hip. Slide your right foot to the outside edge of your left thigh. From here, you might want to lift your pelvis up and slide it a little bit to the left. Sometimes it just helps both sit bones root into the floor a little bit more. And then you can hold that right leg with both arms and just feel whatever's happening in your outer right glute. Sit super tall. Draw your belly in on the right side and wrap your left ribs towards your inner right thigh. You might stay here hugging that leg with both arms. You might extend your right arm behind you in line with your tailbone. And you might even slide your left elbow outside of your right knee. It just depends on what feels best to you. And very gently, you'll unwind that. We'll switch to the other side. So your right foot comes forward, your left foot comes forward, your knees are slightly bent. The right knee bends, the right heel comes to the outside edge of your left hip. The left leg crosses over, so the left foot's on the outside edge of your right thigh. And then sit as tall as you can. Well, if you needed to, shift your pelvis over, but otherwise you'll sit as tall as you can and draw your left knee in, maybe hooking your right arm around your left elbow. And then draw the ribs back, on the left side to draw your right ribs towards that inner left thigh. You might then release your left hand back behind you in line with the pelvis, or continue to hold on with both arms. Third option is to bend the right elbow outside of the left knee with the fingertips pointing up. And you just pause and you breathe. Great. Very gently, you'll unwind. Okay. Let's just make our way directly onto our backs. Need to figure out how to add that in. But when you find yourself on your back, just take a moment to pause. Please make sure your blocks and your blanket are somewhere easily accessible to you. And from here, we'll just find ourselves in supported bridge or supported legs up the wall. So you'll bend your knees and plant your feet on the floor. And then slide one or both of your blocks underneath your sacrum at a height that feels appropriate to you. And then you can either keep your feet on the floor from there or extend your legs up towards the sky. And then again, once you found yourself in that shape, hands might be alongside your hips, palms face up. And we're going to breathe again up and down your spine. So this is another mudra. Mudra is a seal. Bandhas are a type of mudra. When you start to add in the breath and the energetic focus, so you're inhaling down the spine, so from your face to your pelvis, and then you're exhaling and you're drawing the energy back up. And ideally, where the breath meets in between these two things is in the abdomen, where our samana vayu is. So when you're inhaling, it's prana, but we're allowing it to have a downward motion. And when you're exhaling, that's apana, but we're allowing it to have an upward motion so that they mix in the center, in our center where our stomach is, where samana can digest everything. So you'll take a few more breaths and a few more minutes here. And I'll just read something from Thich Nhat Hanh, the novice. He calls it a story of true love. And in this concluding chapter, which is called Practicing Love, he writes, "There are days when you feel nothing seems to work out. You rely on your intelligence, on your talent, and think you can succeed on just that. But there are days when everything seems to go wrong. When things go wrong, you try harder. And when you try harder, things continue to go wrong. So you say to yourself, this is just not my day. The best thing to do is to stop struggling, to go home to yourself, to recover yourself. Don't just keep slogging on, counting on your talent and your intelligence to make things right. You have to go home and reestablish your solidity, your freedom, and your peace and calm before you can try again." So as you're here for these last few moments, how can you find a greater sense of ease and calm, a sense of solidity and freedom in your body, in your being, so that you can continue living your lives as fully as you can from as grounded and loving and compassionate a place as possible. When you are ready, you'll start to bend your knees and lightly plant your feet firmly on the floor. Take a moment to pause there. When you are ready to move, engage the backs of the legs, push down into the feet, and lift your hips up and away from your block. From there, extend your legs. Well, just pause there, actually. And just take a moment to pause. Okay. Draw just your right knee into your chest. Interlace your hands at the back of your right thigh. Extend your left leg long beneath you and flex through that left foot. Continue to draw your outer right hip away from your right shoulder and in towards your inner left thigh. And you might stay here with the knee bent at about a 90-degree angle or start to kick your right foot towards the sky. Now, if you're still on the block, be very mindful with this. And you're just flexing through the foot. And you're pausing and you're breathing, hugging that outer right hip in towards that inner left thigh. Softening across your shoulders and across your face. Great. If you'd like, you'll keep your right hip rooted, but cross your right leg a few inches over towards the left side of the body, keeping the leg long. Draw that right outer hip away from your right shoulder. And you might use your right thumb to push that right outer hip away from your right shoulder. And very gently, maybe walk the left hand to the outside edge of your right thigh. Hold on into that tendon part there and kick your foot or your thigh into your hand as you push your outer right hip away from you. Great. Next in breath, draw the leg back to center. Gently bend your right knee in. Grab your foot and maybe open to a half happy baby of your choice. So right hand perhaps to the inside edge of that right thigh. Left hand might come to left hip or might just open out to the left. You're just taking a moment to pause and breathe here. Then very gently hug that right knee back into the chest. Release the sole of the foot onto the floor. And then bend the left knee and plant the left foot next to the right. And we'll go ahead and try that on the other side. So draw your left knee into your chest. Interlace your hands at the back of your thigh. And you might kick your right leg long beneath you, actively flexing through that foot. And then draw your outer left hip actively away from you. So it comes away from your head and in towards your inner right thigh. You might stay here flexing the shin so it's parallel to the floor, or extend your left foot up towards the sky so it's perpendicular to the floor. And again, that outer left hip draws away from the left shoulder and in towards the inner right thigh. Inner right thigh spins towards the floor. Option to stay right here. Otherwise, draw your left hand to your left hip. Draw your right hand to the outside edge of your left thigh. Cross your left leg a few inches over to the right, but keep pushing your left leg to the left. Keep pulling, or rather pushing your left hip away from your left shoulder. Just pause and breathe there. And then very gently, you'll come back through center with the left leg. Bend your left knee. Grab your left foot. Open the left knee towards the left. And then notice what you want to do with that right hand. Does it come to the hip? Does it open out to the right? Gently draw the left knee back to center. And then your choice. Release the left foot to the floor. Release the right foot next to it. Either take happy baby here or take Supta Baddha Konasana, whichever one feels best to you. And as we settle down into our final shape, I encourage you to start to cover the body up. And then you'll make your way to your final shape, whether that's Supta Baddha Konasana or whether that's Shavasana. Great. And once you find yourself settled, notice if there are any final little adjustments that you can make so that the shape feels easier to you, more comfortable, more inviting, more receiving. And then in this space, bring your awareness back to your abdomen. And you'll just observe the natural flow of the breath in and the natural flow of the breath out. For the first minute or so that you're just watching the breath, notice if you can just watch the breath, softening any desire to shape or change it. And then gradually begin to soften the breath even more so that the exhalation starts to elongate. So maybe you observed that the breath was steady 4 or 5 counts in, maybe a steady 4 or 5 counts out. Can you elongate it so that the exhalations 1 to 3 counts longer than the in-breath? Continue to work with elongating the exhalation if that feels nurturing to you. Otherwise, simply drop it and allow yourself to drop in. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness. And as you do, just take a moment to check in. Notice the breath. Notice the heart. Notice the mind. Just notice whatever you notice. If you're perfectly content where you are, by all means, hang out here. Otherwise, you'll start to invite small movement into your physical form. From there, you'll stretch and wiggle and yawn in any way that feels good to you. And then gently make your way to one of your sides. Roll yourself more towards the floor. Press into your top hand and bring yourself to a tall, comfortable seat. And when you're vertical, I do encourage you to take the opportunity to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. From there, do any little last minute fidgets you need so that you feel like you are stable in your seat. Plant your hands on your thighs. And the gaze either remains inward or down towards the floor, but just notice the weight of the shoulder blades. Notice the weight of your hands, the weight of the pelvis, the legs, and the feet. Bring your awareness inside the body to the soles of the feet, up through the hollows of the legs into the hollows of the hips. Notice the space in the abdomen, the ribs, the chest, the heart. Find space in the armpits, through your throat, in your jaw, at the backs of the eyes. And drawing your awareness to your nose, tip of the nostrils. And just observe the breath as it enters and exits through the walls of the nose. As you continue to just watch the breath as it enters and exits the nasal passage, you might begin to feel a bit of energy, sensation, tingling, might even see light behind the backs of the eyes in the third eye center. All the practices that we do are enabling us to clear the mind so that we can see clearly, so that we can come home to ourselves, so we can be compassionate first and foremost to ourselves and not struggle so much. And then that in turn enables us to be kind and compassionate with others, not struggle so much. So you'll take these last 3 to 5 breaths here, sending yourself as loving and compassionate thoughts as you can so that you can come home to you. so that you can realize and experience the beautiful entity that you are just by being you. Bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your heart, and then give your heart back towards your hands. Gently lower your chin towards your chest. And then we'll complete our practice by just saying, the light within me honors and salutes the light within you. Namaste.